A few days ago, I saw some random post on social media where someone had sort of this collage of a before and after picture of themselves, where in the before, they actually looked quite healthy and like they were in very good shape, very physically fit. And then in the after, they just looked a little less physically fit, a little bit more out of shape. And it wasn't anything remarkably out of the ordinary. It's just that they obviously hadn't put nearly as much effort into attaining that physical appearance as they had in the before. And the purpose of that post, as they continued on to articulate, was that you shouldn't have to prove yourself to anybody. You shouldn't have to get yourself in shape because you feel like you need to prove yourself to anybody, including yourself. You're just enough the way you are, however you choose to live your life. But the obvious irony here is that on one hand, this person's encouraging people to adopt this supposedly healthy mindset, while at the same time encouraging people to not exercise and take care of themselves and be in shape. And so for this reason and others, because I see a lot of posts like this, I find myself disagreeing with this notion that you shouldn't have to prove yourself to anybody or yourself. As a matter of fact, I believe the exact opposite. You should have to prove yourself to others as well as yourself. So I want to start off by talking about some general shortcomings that I see with this argument, and then talk about the implications that it has for the people around you, followed by the implications that it has for you. So in general, there are a few shortcomings to this contention, at least in my opinion. The first of which I want to present to you in the form of a question, and that is, isn't it rather convenient how if you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, then all of a sudden your life just becomes that much easier? Because it's taking the easy way out. If you don't have to prove yourself, then you don't really have to put any work into anything at all whatsoever. And seldom in life is taking the easy way out better than taking the harder path. It's only through challenge and hardship and difficulty that there is any growth. And kind of extending off of that, that's where you have to ask yourself what kind of a person you want to be. Do you want to be the type of person who just takes the easy way out all the time? Or do you want to be the opposite? Do you want to be the type of person who seeks out hardship and takes the harder path whenever possible? Because if you do, then at the end of the day, you can say that I'm the type of person who actively seeks out challenges and overcomes them and faces them head on because I'm a hard worker and because I'm not afraid. And really the choice is yours, as I always say. But even if you set all that aside, then another notable shortcoming is that if you do subscribe to that notion that you don't have to prove yourself, then you stand to rob yourself of the motivation to achieve. Because sometimes the feeling of having that obligation to prove yourself to somebody is what pushes you to do that. So for example, if you want to prove to your coach that you're a valuable player, then you're going to work harder during practices and perform better during the game. And then at the end of the day, in the process, you're going to become a better athlete and a better player, which I'd argue is much superior to the alternative. But with that set aside, let's go and talk about some of the implications that this has for the people around you. So if you want to have any kind of relationship with anybody, whether it's platonic, romantic, or professional, then you have to prove yourself to these people. Because if you don't, then they're going to feel disrespected because you're basically saying that they're not worthy or deserving of the effort that it takes to have to do that. And in some cases, it's also going to be perceived as socially unintelligent. So, for example, a couple years ago, I was a member of a meetup group that I was a regular attendee at for a couple months, where a couple months into it, one of the women in the group just kind of randomly approached me and asked me out on a date. And I said no, because in the entire time leading up to that, they obviously hadn't put any effort into proving any aspect of themselves to me. They didn't care about their appearance. They didn't care about controlling their emotions in the group. They had meltdowns and emotional breakdowns all the time. And they didn't really put any effort into making conversation and building rapport with me up until that point in a way that kind of plays that artful game of kind of concealing your intent and making it fun and doing it in a way that's non-confrontational and not very threatening. They kind of just went all out the first chance that they got. So again, I turned them down because I felt disrespected by that, and it also indicated to me that this person might have been relatively socially inept. And on the other hand, what are some of the implications that it has for you? Namely, if you want to have any kind of value system, then how can you be confident that you actually embody those values if you're not willing to prove that to yourself with your actions over time? So in my case, for example, when I was a young kid in high school and college, I wanted to be a tough person, both physically and mentally. Amongst other things. But it wasn't enough for me to just kind of talk the talk and not walk the walk. It was too easy in my mind to just say I'm a tough guy without proving that to myself. So as a result, I opted to join the military and work towards achieving that. And now, several years later, having put all that work into it and overcoming that challenge, I have proven that to myself, and I can say with a little bit more confidence that that's actually the kind of person that I am. Now, on a final note, I do want to clarify that this is another one of those concepts that can be taken to one extreme or the other. I've already spoken out against one of the extremes, which is feeling like you just never have to prove yourself to anybody at all whatsoever, including yourself. but that doesn't mean take it to the other extreme where you just kind of become approval seeking. I'm just saying that a good middle ground is where you put a good effort forth and then you kind of cut your losses from there. Because when it comes to other people, you can't please everybody. So if you've put that effort forth and it's not working out for you, then it's just time to move on from there. And when it comes to yourself, if you find that you're not really giving yourself credit where it's due, then maybe you need to change that. It's okay to keep moving the goalpost every time you achieve something, but don't forget to stop and recognize your achievements thus far. So hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.